This is The Scoop for Monday.
I'm Sean Canan with the WMNF News headlines. The University of Florida plans to hire school president Santa Ono away from the University of Michigan. Ono was recommended as the search committee's only finalist to be considered by the Board of Trustees last night. The school's board selects the president, and the appointment is subject to confirmation by the Florida Board of Governors. Ono is expected to be on campus tomorrow for a series of opportunities to connect with students, faculty, and administrators. Ono is set to replace Kent Fox, who became the school's interim president after former U.S. Senator Ben Sasse stepped down. President Trump is circumspect about his duties to uphold due process rights laid out in the Constitution. He says in a new interview that he does not know whether U.S. citizens and non-citizens alike deserve that guarantee. He also says he does not think military force would be needed to make Canada the 51st state. And he's downplaying the possibility that he'd look to run for a third term in the White House. The comments came in a wide-ranging and at times combative interview that aired last night on NBC's Meet the Press. Last week, President Donald Trump signed an executive order to end federal funding for NPR and PBS. WMNF's Chris Young reports, on Friday, Congressmember Kathy Castor blasted the move as illegal.
The order directed the Center for Public Broadcasting to cancel funding for NPR and PBS, with Trump claiming the stations are biased and inaccurate. However, the CPB is a private, nonprofit corporation, creating a situation Castor calls an overreach.
This is illegal. You hate to see the Corporation for Public Broadcasting have to take him to court because that's just a waste of money.
But Castor says pushback from Congress may be dicey and encouraged Americans to reach out to their representatives and demand change.
It's more important than ever that our neighbors all across the Tampa Bay area, all across the state of Florida, are speaking out and pressing their representatives in Congress and speaking out. It's only going to be through activism and democracy that we're able to defend these authoritarian moves.
Castor represents a congressional district containing 3 public media stations receiving funding from the CPB, including WMNF. Chris Young, WMNF News, St. Petersburg.
More than a dozen data-gathering programs that track deaths and disease appear to have been eliminated in the tornado of layoffs and proposed budget cuts in the Trump administration's first 100 days. The Associated Press determined the scope of the cuts to programs tracking basic facts about Americans' health. Among those terminated at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention are experts tracking abortions, pregnancies, job-related injuries, lead poisonings, sexual violence, and youth smoking. President Trump says he is directing the government to reopen and expand Alcatraz. That's the notorious former prison on a California island that has been closed for more than 60 years. In a message on his Truth Social site last night, Trump wrote that, "For too long, America has been plagued by vicious, violent, and repeat criminal offenders, the dregs of society who will never contribute anything other than misery and suffering." He said, "That is why today I am directing the Bureau of Prisons together with the Department of Justice, FBI, and Homeland Security to reopen a substantially enlarged and rebuilt Alcatraz to house America's most ruthless and violent offenders." 2 Israeli officials say ministers have approved a plan to capture the entire Gaza Strip and remain in the territory for an unspecified amount of time. If carried out, the move would vastly expand Israel's operations in the Palestinian territory and likely bring fierce international opposition. Israeli cabinet ministers approved the plan in an early morning vote today. It came hours after the Israeli military chief said the army was calling up tens of thousands of reserve soldiers. The new plan would also expel hundreds of thousands of Palestinians to southern Gaza. That would likely exacerbate an already dire humanitarian crisis. The UN said the plan would leave large parts of the population, including the most vulnerable, without supplies. It said the plan appears designed to reinforce control over life-sustaining items as a pressure tactic as part of a military strategy. Israeli strikes across Gaza continued overnight, killing at least 17 people in northern Gaza. That's according to hospital staff. It'll be mostly sunny with highs in the high 80s today. Tonight, clear with overnight lows in the high 60s. Tomorrow, sunny and hot, highs in the low 90s. I'm Sean Canan with the WMNF News headlines.
This is The Scoop, recorded at WMNF Tampa.